Gratitude seems to be a word that has popped up a lot these past few months. But really, over these past 2 years, I pushed this second part of the recap back to align with that 2-year anniversary of the podcast. I continue this recap talking about the experience I've had on each episode with these amazing guests. So I look ahead, because this isn't the end. I'm only getting started, handing out the Motor City Crowns. What's up, everybody? This is your host of the Motor City Crowns podcast, Robert Solano Sanchez, and I'm here for the second half of the podcast recap. It's coming a little bit late, but the reason it's coming a little bit late is because I wanted to make sure I included a little bit of everything. Make sure everyone knew what was going on with the podcast and why things have been delayed, or at least why I've been doing a little bit extra outside of the podcast. So, first of all, everything with the podcast so far, everything with the Motor City Crowns podcast overall, I wanted to thank a few people off the top. And number one was obviously all the followers and people who have watched, listened to the podcast, everybody who has commented, liked, subscribed, everything like that. I couldn't keep going without you guys. So thank you. Second is all the guests that I've had on. All the ones that I mentioned in the first part of the first part of the podcast recap, and now the people I'm going to be mentioning here today. So a few other people I want to thank are, one, my lovely girlfriend, Ariana. She's the one who drew up the podcast logo that you'll see. I'll be putting it right here if you're not aware, if you haven't seen it before. But she's had a few signs made that I've used in the background of some episodes. I've used them specifically now, the last year or so, for the podcast guests to sign, like a memento that I can keep, which I think it's a really great idea. Also, I want to thank ATM Crown. He's a producer and a rapper here in Detroit, and he made the beat that you guys have heard on season 1 of the podcast. Now, he didn't make it specifically for me. I just picked one that he had for sale, and I was like, this is really dope. This is what I'm going to go with. So I just want to thank him. And if you guys are interested in wanting to buy any of the beats, or maybe you're interested in recording your own music, look up Midwest Mix House and look up ATM Crown with a K. So look both those up. Maybe hook you up with something. Oh, what am I got to thank one other person who's really helped me out a lot, is Motor City Era. He was on the podcast, and he's become a really close friend. And throughout the process of just getting to know him more, he's wanted to help out with the podcast. So he has been doing a lot of the camera work when we're out at a studio. He's been getting a lot of B-roll. He did a walk around podcast with me that we'll be going over with shortly on the one that we did. So, all right. So I know where we left off before. Now, Cecilia Sharp, she was one of my favorites. Now, the reason why she was one of my favorite guests was she's on the radio, if nobody knew that. If you listen to the podcast, maybe you know. But no, she's on the radio on 90.9. It's a classical music station. And she's also been around a lot of like talking and speaking events. and she also teaches music, which I think that is like the coolest thing. Like you're into music so much that you're teaching it. So she's worked with the radio stations, she's worked with Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and she's taught a lot of young kids music. Now, I'm not sure exactly to the extent of like how deep and what ways, but she gets into a little bit on the episode, so you have to check that out for yourself. But getting into a little bit more of why I really enjoyed having her on the show, she was super comfortable not being the leader when knowing that I was inexperienced doing this, speaking to somebody else who is experienced. She let me lead, and afterwards, she just made me feel more comfortable with myself, giving me a few pointers, and she really, I don't know, it felt good to know that somebody was giving me that kind of feedback who had done all those things in the past. So I just want to say thank you, Cecilia. I don't know if you're going to watch this or listen, but every time I see you doing something out there, I think I'm just really glad that I came across you, and I'm glad that I had you on the show. So thank you. Next up was Motor City Era. Now, I don't know why I thought it was in the first half. It's more in the second half. But like I said, we've became really close in this time since having him on the podcast, and he's a really cool guy. First of all, he's a rapper. He's a producer of his own. He's a digital content creator. So him and his fiance, they own content a digital content company, which is Why Not Collab. So check out Why Not Collab if you're looking for promotional content for your business, promotional content for if you're a musician. They will shoot a music video for you, and they will do it pretty damn good. Um, I think the best thing about having him on the show was he got to be himself instead of just being behind a camera, you know? And he was able to, at least in this episode, he wasn't able to be himself too much because I think he was more of, he didn't know how to react to me when we weren't joking around. So he was trying to be serious and he kind of forgot what to say a lot of times. So this episode kind of skews off a little bit. It's a really short one, but we definitely enjoyed our time talking to each other here. So if you're looking for anything, if you're looking to listen to some good music, look up Motor City Era and his fiance Mirage Virtuoso. Also, like I said before, Why Not Collab? Look them up. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. They will get you hooked up with any kind of your digital content needs. Next up was Renzo Salazar. Oh man, this guy, he was really cool. And I definitely felt like having him on the podcast was a change of pace for him. He is a tattoo artist. He tattoos at Liquid Chaos, which is in Brownstown, Michigan. So if you're looking for a really dope tattoo, look up Renzo Salazar. He's got a Instagram page and he shows off a lot of his work, really detailed with the black and white, really detailed with like faces. His face work is like, it sounds kind of weird, but the way he does his faces on his tattoos are real top notch. He has 10 years of experience doing tattoos, and he's worked with some real big names in the game. So on this episode with Renzo, we were just talking a lot about that experience about working with those industry legends, which one of them was a guy who was on, was it Tattoo Nightmares or was it the one with Dave Navarro as the judge? That tattoo show that came out years ago. It might have been that one, but that guy was pretty big, and he was like mentoring Renzo for a while. So he's got a lot of experience with these people who are like very well respected and like big in the game. So check him out. Check out the episode. I think it's a really good one. Look up Renzo Salazar, man. Now this next one was episode 17 with Amanda Sweet and LeBray Jones. This one was good, but I believe this was the first time I was trying to use my new camera at the time, and it's this camera I'm using right here. Now I couldn't get it to work the right way, so now this one, Amanda Sweet, she is like a multi hyphenate creative, and like she just does so many different things. And Breezy, Ray Jones, he likes to call himself the artistic cyborg. Now, with that, he is really big into music. He makes his own music. He's into AI with that. He makes art with AI, and he makes art, with his hands too. But all of that together, both of them is like both ends of the spectrum. Like one does this creative thing, the other does this creative thing, and it's really it's really awesome to see them connect, see them interact with each other, and see those differences. Now, she had started a movement years ago I believe, when they lived in Texas. It was called Revamp. And now that they're here in Detroit, they do Revamp, which Revamp is it's an event where people donate clothes that, they don't wear anymore, but lightly used, of course. And what they do, they make sure that they take those clothes and put them out for sale for anybody else to come through and pick them up for a good deal. And they have they weigh it out, and it's like, hey, here's a bag. I think it's $20, as much as you can fit in that bag. Maybe it's $5. I don't know. Don't take my word on this right now. I'm not remembering very well, but I think it's $20. So really great deals. I donated a few things a couple times now, and I really hope some people got some use out of the clothes that I donated. Um, and when I say a lot of people come through and donate, a lot of people, and it's more than just that. During these events, there is multiple people that are doing DJ sets, like Breezy himself. They're doing musical acts like Motor City Aaron, Mirage Virtuoso, Kevin Christian, for instance, and a few other people that I've even had on the podcast. But they'll do that throughout the day, and it's a great time. Look up Amanda Sweet. She does really great stuff. She's a host a lot of different things throughout the city, a lot of different events. Um, Especially with the Revamp, she connects with a lot of different people throughout the city, a lot of different creatives and things of that nature. So check out this episode, learn more about these two, and follow them. Next episode was with Damasio. Damasio, oh man, Damasio. I've been following Damasio for years and years. He had this art. I don't know how I even found him. Probably through somebody else, which that's how I find a lot of people. But he had these shirts for sale years ago, and it was whatever mural. I don't think it was a mural. Maybe just like a print that he had made, like art wise, on like um, you know, what artists do, a canvas. I couldn't think. Yeah, he made a canvas, and then he took that and he was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna put it on a shirt. So he did, and he was selling these shirts, and I thought it was really cool. And I messaged him and I said, hey, I'd like to buy one of those shirts or two of them. And he met me up at Honeybee in Southwest Detroit. And he was like, oh, I got this one. And I was like, oh, I don't have my size. So the size he did have was perfect for my son. At the time, he was a lot smaller. So I bought it for him. He wore it. He wore it until he couldn't fit it anymore. So I just wanted to say how amazing it is to have an artist, and let me get into that in just a second, but an artist that can create something that, even though a child doesn't know who this artist is, it becomes like a favorite just to wear because it's cool looking. It's different than the rest of their clothes. So I really hope that Damasio continues to do this. I know he's, like I say, he's an artist. He's an artist in many different ways. He paints murals. He paints a lot of different smaller things on canvases. Um, and he's a recording artist. And if you don't know his work, check him out. His work is really good. Now, right after we recorded this episode, I think it was maybe month or so after, he had um, a show, an art show, and it was really cool because when you go to an art show, it's really quiet, and I think I really enjoyed his show because I got to look at his pieces up close and kind of like connect with each one. Because when you see them on the internet, you see pixels, you see imperfections in the lighting of what, it's taken with a camera. Not everybody has the eye to line something up to get exactly the right picture. Not everybody has the right camera for that either. But when you're right in front of it with the white walls behind it and the bright lights to be able to see these details and see the way the brush was, see the brush strokes, which way it was moving, you can understand a little bit more about what he was trying to convey. Maybe it was feelings, maybe it was a shape of some sort. And with his art, he he does a lot of animals. He does especially a lot of tigers, and I believe I asked him about that. I'm not sure if it was during this episode, but it's fierce. It's powerful. And with those tigers, which it could just be a coincidence that, Detroit has a baseball team that's the Tigers, and that happens to be my favorite team of all of sports. So that could be it. It might not be, but I think it's part of it. So maybe that's what drew me to Damasio's work even more. Now, his music, like I already said, it's really good. It's powerful. Um, he's a rapper, hip hop artist, and it's not like all the other hip hop and rap that you might hear on the radio or might see on Instagram or YouTube or anything. It's real. It's real. That's really what it is. It's real. It makes you feel things. It makes you connect with the emotions that are coming through. And I like especially seeing him perform. I like seeing the videos because he has so much energy in the way he por- conveys his music, the way he pushes out the words, and the way he's able to really connect with the crowd or connect with the person who's even watching. Like he knows this is what's going to get these people really into my music again or more than they might already been. So if you're interested, check out Damasio. Check out his art that he paints. Check out his music. He's really good at. And thank you for being on the show, man. Episode 19 was with Darius Baber. Now, I was exposed to Darius Baber. It's been almost 10 years now. And Darius was, I don't know if he was an up and comer at the time, but he definitely wasn't as well known as he is now. It was in 2016, my grandfather had passed away. And my sister found Darius on Instagram. he was doing specials for portraits. I believe it might have been $100. And this portrait was, I don't know, 8 by 10 maybe. Maybe a little, yeah, probably 8 by 10. About the size of like a piece of paper and maybe a slight bit smaller. And my sister asked him, "Hey, would you do a picture of my grandfather?" And gave him a picture of him. He came back with like the most amazing piece I've ever seen. It was like compared to the picture that he was trying to copy, it was perfectly done. Like the details were there, the shadows in the paint, the way it was like just divot a certain way, the colors he was using. And every time I see that picture now, it almost brings that picture to life. I look and it's almost 3D in a way. Way more than like a normal picture could be. I'm getting really into it. It's my grandfather. I couldn't I couldn't feel any other way about this picture. So before we even get into it, Darius, I just want to say thank you, Darius, for creating such an amazing piece of work that um, our family will cherish forever. We were talking via Zoom, and the Zoom call was dropping a few times, and it was just kind of funny because he was really happy to be on the show, and I was really excited to hear from him again. And we've talked a few times before I had him on the show, and we've talked a few times after. And just every time, it just seems like a really enjoyable conversation because he lives life in such a free way. Like you see him like he's running or he's doing certain things around the city, and he's done installations that were at the Aretha Franklin Amphitheater that were just like really big and vibrant. And he just has a way with his art that I don't think a lot of people will ever like look at it and be like, "Oh, I don't like that." No, I think every single person that sees his art really enjoys it. And speaking of that, like people enjoy his art so much. Um, Victoria Bayegish, she runs Watercolor Connections and does the portraitures. I'm sorry, the portraitures, and she has Darius come on and do those portraitures with her at certain events. So she sees the beauty in the way he works. She sees the talent that he has, and she wants to share it with her clients. I just want to say thank you, Darius. You're an amazing artist, and I really enjoyed having this conversation with you on the show. Next episode is another podcaster. It was Denzel Turner. Now, many of you might already known about Denzel Turner. He hosts a podcast, Black Fridays Podcast, and his podcast is all about celebrating and highlighting Black-owned businesses, specifically in Detroit, but he has since expanded that to well outside of Detroit, in the Metro Detroit area, even farther. He's interviewed people when he went out of town. I think it was in New York, Atlanta now, most recently. I think it was Texas as well during a podcast summit. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's Miami. Maybe it was Miami. Yeah. So, and then I think another one. Don't quote me on that last one. Maybe Pennsylvania. But he is really, really big into that, and for a good reason. A lot of the Black-owned businesses and uh, Black creatives do not get their due. So, thank you, Denzel, for creating a platform that does just that. Now, speaking of that, I was really into wanting to have him on the show because he is a podcaster himself. And we've talked a lot since before I even had him on the show, talked a lot since having him on the show, and he's become a friend, I would say. And I've learned quite a bit from him, just bouncing ideas back and forth, collaborating with giveaways, and he's really just he's fearless with the way he runs his podcast. He isn't shy to speak up about certain things. He isn't shy about trying new things, and he likes to go out and share his message, share his experiences with other people who want to become podcasters. And with that, he started the podcasting classes. Now, if anybody is a listener of mine or a listener of Denzel's and you just came across this specific episode right now, you want to learn how to podcast, you got everything you need to start right there. What you're watching this on right now, your phone. And if you want to learn how to do it, hit up Denzel Pocket Podcasting classes. He usually does them every month, sometimes every other month, depending on his schedule. But if you're interested, look up Denzel Turner or Black Friday's podcast, find his page, and look up that Pocket Podcasting classes. They're pretty full of knowledge, full of info. And when he does it, it's usually like a small class. I believe it's 12 people. During that time, you get a sense of community because you are around other people who want to do the same thing. You are learning from somebody who's been in this podcast business for, I think, 5 years now, maybe more than that now. So I think when you want to go into one of these classes, it's a ton of knowledge. It's a ton of experience getting bounced around. Check it out. Learn more from him and check out his podcast, Black Friday's podcast. Tons of great episodes. I really enjoyed every single one that I've watched. He hasn't had a bad one that I've watched yet. Thank you, Denzel, and definitely be talking to you soon. Next episode is Camila Cantu. She was really, really cool. This was another one that we did on Zoom. It just worked out schedule-wise. She's a singer, a songwriter. She a multi-instrumentalist and a DJ. And most of all now, she's a community leader who does teach kids music. She is a part of, she's not just a part of, she founded the Mariachi Femenil Detroit, which is a female mariachi group. And she's been doing all of this for years now, and she's still young. As much as she's done and the things that she's told me, it sounds like she has 20 years experience doing all of this. No. I mean, she might, but it sounds like she's like in her 40s, the way she talks about having to sing and to just write songs and teach kids. I don't even think she's 30 yet. She might be 26, 25. But I think it's really impressive to have somebody that is that young doing these things and spreading this knowledge to our children in the community. So thank you, Camila, because I really enjoyed the conversation and I really enjoy her music. Another thing, I haven't been to any of her events that she's DJ'd, but I've seen some things that she's posted, and she definitely makes it a good vibe there. Check her out. Anybody listening, anybody watching, check out this episode. It is a real good one. Now, the next episode was with Candace Cavazos, aka Oceano. We recorded this podcast at her space, which was the Deep End Cafe and Gallery. And this was before she was actually able to open here in Southwest Detroit. So she previously had her cafe in Ypsilanti, and now she moved it to Southwest Detroit. She's just opening. I believe she had to move another time. Since we recorded this, she had to move another time, and she is opening up. But she might already be open at this time. So this is a space that she obviously it's a cafe. So serving coffee and other things, tea maybe. Just creating a space that's really inviting to artists to maybe come and perform. The space that she'll sometimes have pieces of art on the wall. The pieces of art on the wall could be anything. It could be photographs. It could be paintings. It could be, anything of that nature. I know when we were recording this, she didn't have anything up because this was pretty new at the time for her. And I believe it was the week after, maybe a few weeks after, she had an event where it was pictures of her up. And it was like her modeling things from the past. And I think it's really interesting and a bold choice because, one, I don't have that kind of confidence to post all that around. A lot of the conversation that we got into was with her work that she does at the University of Michigan, which it was all about helping students at the University of Michigan to, whether it's starting businesses, whether it's starting nonprofits, whether it's starting, maybe there's a goal in their life to do something impactful with the community or just impactful to themselves. And I think the conversation, it got kind of deep, and she definitely had a lot of knowledge to give and a lot of tips for kids, students, young adults. And it's just inspiring because her story is inspiring. This episode with Candace was definitely a really good one. Check out Candace. Check out the Deep End Cafe and Gallery in Southwest Detroit. And next episode's with Ralph Perez. Now, Ralph Perez is also a podcaster, and he is also a marketing strategist, creative director, and like I said, he's a podcaster and she hosts Inside the Pulse. And the reason I brought him on was because he was a very interesting person. He had a lot of knowledge about marketing. He had a lot of knowledge about how to market yourself specifically, not necessarily a brand, but how to market yourself. And that definitely leaks into how to market a brand, how to market a product. And it might come off a bit aggressive with some of his wording, maybe some of his videos that he does. But like I said, he knows what he's doing. He's a strategist. So these videos are part of that marketing strategy. And trust me, he knows what he's doing. He definitely had a lot of insight. And with that insight, he's created a really good company. Oh, man, I wish I could give you the details on that right now. It's in the episode. I'm forgetting because this was a while ago now. This was almost 6 months ago. So if you're interested in learning more about Ralph, listen to the episode. Look up Ralph Perez. Look up Inside the Pulse. He's got a lot of good, great pieces of knowledge that everybody could definitely use when it comes to branding, when it comes to even podcasting, because he's had some really big names on that are part of the creative part of the creative community here in Detroit. Now, next episode after that is David Medina Alvarez, and this was definitely one of my favorites. I was excited. I was excited during the episode. I released this on Cinco de Mayo, and that was not without coincidence. He's Mexican, so he was born and raised in Mexico, and he moved here, I believe, when he was 16, 18. I can't remember now. But what David does, he is a founder and the CEO of Livac. It's an electric off-road vehicle company that was based here in Detroit. And he had started years ago with this idea of wanting to do something, wanting to make a vehicle that could just traverse everywhere without disturbing nature. And he gets into those details in this episode. And I feel like I connected with him because he was getting questions that he wasn't ready for. But he was getting questions that were making him think. And he was really excited telling me details about not just his product, but the way he grew up, the connection he had with his parents for them to help him follow his dreams and come specifically here to Detroit. I mentioned, this is very early in the episode, and he mentioned about wanting to come to Detroit to go to school to learn about vehicles and things like that. And he had kind of mentioned like, oh, not Italy, not France, Germany, any of that, to Michigan, to Detroit. And I was like, what? Why? Why come here? Not thinking at the moment like Detroit is where all this shit started. This is the Motor City, But in the moment, I hadn't thought too much about that. But I know, this is where cars started. This is where the most innovative cars have came from, or at least the most cars ever, maybe. So let's get into the episode a little bit more. He was just like really, really detailed with the way he told me about the off-road vehicle that he has. And he was really excited about how it was going to go with the sales, because it was just going on sale and there was going to be a version 2. And even after we were done recording, he was telling me a bit more about it. And later on in the episode, I think it was like right before the end, I asked him like, hey, could I get a test drive on this damn thing? Can I get a test drive? Because I really would love to ride this thing. And he was like, yeah, definitely, absolutely. I missed my chance to ride this thing. Wasn't really on purpose. Kind of on accident. It was between going to this event to test drive this or recording another podcast episode, which that's, I believe it's the next episode. No, it's about 2 more. And those guests, I've been waiting to get them on the podcast, and we'd already rescheduled. So I was like, can't reschedule again. This one's on me. I have to take the L. So if you're watching this, David, please give me a shot. Let me get on one of those things. Just wanna, crank it up to 88 miles an hour. See what happens. If anyone's interested in more about learning about David Medina Alvarez and his company Livac, check out this episode. Check out Livac on Instagram. And yeah, check out David Medina Alvarez. Really inspiring Mexican. Really inspiring person. The episode after that was the first half of the podcast recap, part 1. I'm not going to go into that because that would just be redundant. And the episode after that was with Reyes. Michael Reyes, otherwise known as Reyes Poetry. This one, this is where I took the podcast a little differently. I had an idea that my friend Motor City Era gave me, and he said, "Hey, why don't you just like walk with him?" And I'm like, walk. That'd be tough. How am I gonna record it? Like I got these mics. How am I gonna record it on video? And he's like, I'll just walk behind you or in front of you and record you. And I'm like, really? Let's do it. So Reyes Poetry is based in Southwest Detroit. And with that, he is really big in the music scene with helping young musicians. He is the global underground ambassador to Visit Detroit now, and he is one of the owners of Backwoods and Bonfires. So he likes to put the shine on others. And it's not because he doesn't have anything to offer, but because that is his job. That is what he's passionate about. That is what he enjoys doing. So he came from, I believe it was Flint. And he started off as a poet. He started off as a poet years ago. And from there, he became interested in wanting to help the younger generation get into music, get into poetry, get into anything creative because he saw value in the younger generation. So with that, he's part of the Culture Creators, the We Are Culture Creators, which is a group that he is part of, and he helps. He is part of We Are Culture Creators, which is a collective that him and a few other artists around Detroit have come together and made a community with many other artists, many other creatives to help them just create a bigger platform to lift each other up and showcase themselves. So on this episode, I really enjoyed this because one, we took a walk around Southwest Detroit, and we started at his house. He gave me a present of a fifth of tequila, which was fucking great. I don't even remember the name of it. I don't remember. It was good though. It was good. It's on the episode. I'd have to play it and check it out, but it's on there. So we took a walk around Southwest Detroit, and in that specific neighborhood, I was like, you know what? Let's take a walk over here. A lot of these moves in this episode were intentional. It wasn't just like, hey, we're gonna go this way, we're gonna go that way, whatever way he was leading. No, it was a little bit intentional because I wanted to make sure with the shots that Motor City Era was getting, he was getting some really good shots. He was getting the flags that were on the bridge. He was getting some of the overpass. He was getting one of the guys who was working on a mural on the Bagley Street Art Alley. I believe that's what it's called. And when we walked down Bagley over by Mexican Village and just about a block away from Honeybee, we turned around on 18th Street. Now 18th and Bagley is right where my grandfather grew up. It was like a not a turning point in my life, but it was a turning point for us in the podcast because one, we had to head back, and two, there's not much else after Honeybee. There's a little bridge that goes over the train tracks, and then you're running into Rosa Parks. And I didn't really want to walk that far anyways. And I think it was a really great episode because one, we're outside and it was a beautiful, beautiful day. And I'd worried about that for one. I was like, man, I really hope it doesn't rain. But he dropped a lot of knowledge. And he's been on a few podcasts now. He's around a lot of people where he has to voice his opinion, voices himself to a crowd, knowing how to talk to young adults. So he knew what he wanted to say without coming off as arrogant or without coming off as like controlling. Thank you, Reyes, for coming on the show because you made this episode really good, and the experience of just learning from you for a short amount of time about what you do and how you do it, it's inspiring. It's truly, truly inspiring. I can see why a lot of people like to be around you and why a lot of people continue to build with you. The next episode that I have was with our sponsor, Pingree Detroit. Now, we had on the CEO and the VP of Footwear Operations, Nate. Oh, well, the CEO is Jared Schloff. That's 100% correct. I don't know why I didn't say the name. Now, if you guys don't know, Pingree Detroit is the sponsor of this podcast. And if you don't know, Pingree Detroit is a sponsor of this podcast. They're the first sponsor and the only so far. So before we get any farther, if anybody is looking to sponsor the podcast, wants to get their brand shown off, shown, both, whatever. Hit me up. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up in my DMs. Love to have you on the show as a guest. Love to have you on the show as a podcast sponsor. So let's get into it about Pingree Detroit. If you guys don't already know, Pingree Detroit is a, man, where do I start? They make quality leather goods right here in Detroit. And it's all upcycled. Everything comes from one place or another. And the leather itself comes from the car industry here in Detroit. A lot of this leather and a lot of the other good pieces of the bags that they make, or the dog collars that they make, and the dog leashes that they make, they're all pieces of things that came out of a car or that were going to come out of a car. They just might have been scrap pieces. They might have been not scrap pieces. Maybe they were installed and they were like, no, never mind, we're going to take them out. Either way, everything's full circle here. It's all about sustainability. That's what Pingree's all about. That's what Jared's all about. That's what Nate's all about. It's all about sustainability. It's all about bringing something together from one part of the city, the community, bring it together, bring it to the customer. Maybe that made sense. Maybe it didn't. But I'll tell you what, this company is all about making sense, because it makes sense to use upcycled material. And it makes sense to me, last year, I became an investor in Pingree Detroit. Now that might seem kind of weird. I'm an investor in the company and they become a podcast sponsor. But to me, it made sense because I love everything that this company does. they love maybe a little bit. No, they love everything I'm doing with the podcast. And these two guys that came on the show are two of the, I think, like the funniest guys I've met that are in a company that are like all about pushing innovation while being sustainable. Now, Nate, he's a veteran, so he had a lot to say about what it meant to him coming out of the service and working for somebody like Jarrett and working with him really because what Pingree is a co-owned co-op owned business. So the worker owned. I'm getting all this mixed up. Pingree Detroit is a worker owned business. And with that means that everybody has a say in what the company is going to do. Everybody has a say in maybe designs when it comes to maybe creating a new product. So it's a really interesting story about how Pingree started. It's a really interesting story about how Nate got involved with Pingree and why Jared even started the company in the first place. So if you are interested in this story, if you're interested in wanting to continue sustainability in your life, if you're interested in wanting to buy a wonderfully made, veteran made, because a lot of their workers are veterans. If you're interested in all of that, go to pingreedetroit.com and don't forget, use the code CROWNS at checkout, CROWNS at checkout, and you get 10% off. Except for footwear. But I totally forgot about that. I did mention slightly that Nate is the VP of footwear operations, and with that, oh man, I keep saying that line, with that. But the thing is, there's always something with that. Nate makes and designs some really great sneakers. Check out these sneakers. They are also leather that's recycled, reclaimed from the auto industry. And these are some really good, I believe they might have been the first and only, maybe current business that is making sneakers here in Detroit. So if you want to be the first and you want to be the only, and you want to be part of that, check out pingreedetroit.com. Check out this episode. Check out their page. Check out everything they do because they're continuing to push the envelope and they're definitely they're getting everywhere. What Jarrett was telling me was that they have now collabed with the Ford Bronco. They were talking about how they might be opening a store soon. They were talking about how now they have their products that are being sold at the airport. The airport? What? At the DIA, the Detroit Institute of Art, the place with the most history here in this city. At least that's what I think. I just think everything that this company is doing is worthwhile and extremely cool. And if you're not a part of it and you want to be a part of it, whether it's owning a piece of their work, which I call everything everyone makes work, because that's what it is. It's something you work on. It's something that you put your passion into. This is my work right now. So if you're interested in getting in with Pingree, you want to invest in them, maybe hit up Jarrett. You want to buy their products? You want to listen about how everything's made? Go to their page, pingreedetroit.com. Go to their Instagram, pingreedetroit. I know sometimes they got giveaways because that's how I got in with them. I won a giveaway years ago. I just want to say thank you to Jarrett and Nate for coming on the show. Thank you to the whole Pingree Detroit crew for building a brand that has truly become remarkable and getting bigger every day. And thank you to all my guests Cecilia Sharp, Motor City Era, Renzo Salazar, David Medina Alvarez, Reyes Poetry, Ralph Perez, Candice Oceana Cavazos, Camila Cantu. Oh man, she was great. She really was great. Denzel Turner, Darius Baber, Damasio, Amanda Sweet, and LeBrie Jones. Who else am I missing? Oh, Shane Trees, Gabriel Duran, Kevin Christian, Mirage Virtuoso, Will Daniels, Flaco Suave, and Freddie Torres, Denise Lopez Avila, Victoria Bayagish, Sonia Rose, Gabby Hemlock, Mav1, and the first guest I ever had was Southwest Freddie. Thank you to everybody who's been on the show. Thank you everybody who listened to the show. Watch every episode if you could, if you can. Like, subscribe, comment, message me if you want. I don't care. I'll check it out. I'll listen to what you got to say. There is more episodes of the podcast coming. I've been busy. I've been everywhere. I'm traveling. I'm working. I'm getting in the community and I'm listening to what people got to say. And I'm doing some really cool stuff in the next few episodes. So don't miss out. This one's good. The next one's good. The next few are good. I'm trying some new stuff and I'm trying to evolve this podcast into more of a interactive episode kind of thing. Less about sitting down and talking, but more about meeting these people where they're at. Because I think that's what's most important, is connecting with them on their level. Don't worry about my level. Connect with them on their level. So thank you so much. And don't forget, shop small, support local artists, and check out PingaryDetroit.com and get that discount at 10% off. I am your host, Robert Solano Sanchez, and this is the Motor City Crowns podcast, where passion reigns and excellence is crowned. I will see you next time.